I love watching the Magic World Championships. So today I present to you the best card in Standard right now. That best card is Yotian Frontliner. This guy is a 1/1 for 1 colorless mana. He strengthens another creature for the turn when he attacks, and then you resurrect him once for 1 white mana with Unearth. His most important feature is that unearthing, and that he is a soldier that can be resurrected once. He's at least a 2/2 worth of attacking power when he attacks with a friend. With Guardian of New Benalia, the soldier helps grow its power and you scry too. Valiant Veteran grows the soldier further, plus it dies twice for Siege Veteran and helps you with your soldier count for Mirror, even really fast when you unearth it when it died in the early game. If anything, this card is the glue to the soldier decks, and that is probably the explanation for this high win rate. Good builders use this card to stitch the deck together. So alone, he is a 1/1 that comes back once, but in the right deck, he's a creature that helps your other creatures get in for damage. He gives you 2 power extra, gives you extra soldier tokens, and he becomes a 2/2, a 3/3, 4/4 with flying, a 5/5, and that's why he's the best creature in Standard with 60% win rate. But he does need the right decks. So here we see the main use of the soldier, which is that, for example, if your opponent has a 2/2 creature, we can make our 2/2 a 3/3 and still attack in profitably. In this case, even dealing 6 damage, which is for this game really backbreaking. You also see a really high hitter, which is Meryl. She's ready to get in and make 2 more soldiers, and if you can buff them up later, that will be insane. Also, the mono white plus side, lay down arms, is a removal spell for just 1 mana, which almost always works in these games because you can get those smaller creatures out of there immediately, and in this case, our opponent explodes. Yotian Frontliner is good in 2 decks. First of all, and which is my favorite, is mono white soldiers. So what this does is it wants to go very white with cheap creatures and also is very low to the ground itself. It has only 1 4 mana card, which is Meryl, and the main plus side for me for this deck is that you can use Lay Down Arms, which is a really good mono white card. What it does is it exiles creatures for the amount of planes you have, so their mana cost has to be the same. And because we curve out really quickly, it's really good that we have this 1 mana removal spell, because we can use this oftentimes, whereas the other deck is a little bit slower. The downside though is that, of course, as in this color, we will run out of fuel really quickly. But that is why we have the recruiter, so for 4 mana we can still get some sort of card draw in, and because we are so low to the ground, we will almost always draw something with the recruiter. Now, Yotian Frontliner is good in this deck because he's small, so he's one of those 1 mana guys, and we appreciate any 1 mana soldier that we can get, and those are 2, so we have 8 of them. Other than that, he's a soldier that dies twice, which synergizes very well with our veteran to go even wider, and there are many moments in which we get to have Miro out, but then she might be the only soldier, or you have only 1 extra, but we have 2 Yotian soldiers in the graveyard, so we can make 4 soldiers and 4 1/1 tokens, so that is a really strong effect as well, definitely if we can buff the small soldier tokens. The other soldier deck that Yotian Frontliner is good in is the Azorius Soldiers deck. Now, the plus side for this is that it can go a little bit later with the Planeswalker that we have, and the Sky Strike Officer will give us a lot of value, and then we will use Harbin as a finisher so that we +1 for the power for our soldiers and give them flying on the attack, so that we hopefully can get in with a lot of flying soldiers. The downside here is that removal comes really late, so at 4 mana the removal is really late and it only works on attacking creatures, and we can go later with the deck because of it, but we are pretty bad at being a mid-range deck. So you might as well, I guess, go aggro, is what made me steer away from this version. Now, Yotian Frontliner is so good in this deck, he isn't the main guy here, but because you need a mass of soldiers to deal lethal damage with Harbin in one turn again, it is really nice to have those Yotian soldiers at your at your wins with haste when you get them out of the graveyard again. The true strength of this card here is that you can get them in the late game, play them when you're ready for your lethal swing. So this is a little bit different. You can't do it for value here. You just have to use the Yotian soldiers on your last attack. That is why it's dangerous, but it is a tempo deck and those are dangerous to play. So you need to get into the tempo of the deck and then it starts to be really good. Even when we only have these soldiers, they can also buff each other. So that is one plus side as well. There will be sort of 2-2 attackers when they are together with other frontliners. So that is a really impressive moment right here, where we get 6 power to attack with. One of them gets cut down, and that is a lot of value for just a 1/1 that returns as well once to get 1 removal spell. Now here we see how when Miro's out, we can bring those Yotian Frontliners back in the same game and have 3 soldiers instead of 2, or we'll have 4 instead of 2. And that is insane because we also get those 2 extra 1/1s when the Yotian Frontliners leave again. So that is definite double duty here, as you see. Yotian Frontliner is definitely a frontliner. He wants to attack and be the first to get in together with his other soldiers. He doesn't mind dying once and will just get up again. But when his parts are too damaged, he can't get up. We see his determination in the R2. He has a rather short sword and has 2 of his comrades on the ground on either side of him. So he doesn't need great weapons to keep moving on. Just like human frontliners, our friend wears ragtag armor. It is all scraped away from his friends, maybe even. His head is different than that of his friend. He has dents in his armor and he's greasy all over. On top of all this, we see his friend already rounding the corner for backup. These frontliners don't stop easily, even though they have not too much power on their own. This is the front of the army. In this game we enter in a full board state, but what happens here is that we have a lot of creatures here. We have 2 Yotian soldiers and we're going to see why they can be good in numbers as well. Siege Veteran, a real beast in these kinds of decks, because he can strengthen one of our soldiers already. Our opponent is really thinking about how to react to that, but they keep watching, but then we attack with 2 of our frontliners and we don't really care if they get picked off actually, but we do want them to be a little bit successful in trading at least. But then we strengthen Adele a bit so that she also trades favorably with the 4-3. Then once more, because then they would have to put in all of their creatures in order to kill her, and they would have an empty board and we would have a pretty impressive one. So I think this is a pretty good chokehold. The only thing they can really do is defeat those frontliners, and we don't really care. They are frontliners. They are meant to be destroyed or sacrificed in battle. That's fine. And we even made sure that they couldn't trade off the 1/1 for another one, which they might not even want to do. So that's how this becomes a really good attack, I would say. They do use a spell and kill Adele anyways. Adeline, sorry, mommy. But yeah, it still costs them some extra fuel, and that is important. And that's just from these two 1/1s that have been so flexible in this case. So they also enable us to. They even use some more removal on it. They have become scared from the thing, but we can just bring our frontliner back really soon. And here you can see how powerful it is to have two of them in the graveyard, and now we can very easily, for just 2 mana, get them both back. We have the Rumor Gatherers, which is another card that is pretty good with the soldiers, I'd say, because getting 2 into the battlefield is really easy, and then it's a 2 mana for 2 1/1s that give +2/+2. And then also you get to scry 2 and draw 2. That is pretty insane in this case. I would say that this deck could use some more card draw, so if you have them, I think they are uncommons, so it will be pretty good. There we use another buff to make another 4/4, and we buff him further. We don't care about the frontliners at all right now, but we spread the power around a little bit just so that the big soldier trades profitably with the 4/3, and the other guys have some substantial damage to them as well, so this make them want to block them all. We trade profitably with the demon even. We just take a little bit of damage on the backside. That is a really good attack that we otherwise wouldn't have had if we didn't have those 2 extra attackers that we had at our disposal at any time. This is Yotia's Frontliner. Yotia is an old civilization that fought on the side of Urza. Because of their allegiance, it was soon scorched by Mishra, and Urza had no true will to defend his border territory. Even as they were occupied by their lifelong enemy, the Falagi, it took 10 years for Argive and Corlys to liberate Yotia, but at that moment, Yotia was broken beyond saving. They kept fighting for Urza nonetheless. These people don't give up and are very loyal. According to Alan Verney, Yotia was designed from one card, Yotian Soldier, which is very much alike Yotian Frontliner. Yotian Soldier was a toy soldier. This shows us how the Yotians view their people as game pieces, and how the Yotians are often happy to fulfill their duty. As time went on, the soldiers of Yotia gained personality. They'd refuse to destroy, or they would fight for their home. That is how Yotia is changing over time, together with Dominaria as a whole. But this frontliner is in many ways a blast to the past, and it's great that this uncommon gets to fulfill such a big role in Standard for a little while. Now let's see another game, but this time let's look at it all. And it is a pretty good example of, well, for one, how people are really slow on on Arena sometimes. As you can see here, I've been waiting for a long time and I've got most of it out, but I'll fit the audio into it. But I say hello and then maybe they wake up, but no, they still don't really wake up. But I keep flinging my planes around, and you know what's most important is you see the curve here, 1, 2, 3, starting with the frontliners, as you will see. Then going on to the Guardian, which we can boost with our frontliner, and then going into the Siege Veteran, which will help us get over, for example, a 2/2, which we will see in just a bit. And moments of getting in 1 damage are really important. So let's start with that, see if they have an answer to that, and they don't. But then we play the Guardian, and they still don't have an answer. So I'm feeling at this moment like they will indeed play the Weaver of Harmony, which they already showed. So I know that we can already get in. But I play a Siege Veteran, we can buff our frontliner as well. Or not. Oh, we were going to enlist, we are going to buff the 3/3, so he could probably also attack already. And otherwise we would have just discarded the planes to give it indestructible anyways, but now we don't have to do that, and we get in for the first 5 damage over these 2 turns. So I skip forward a bit because they are really slow, but they now have a 3-3 with lifelink that will grow really fast, so we need to close this game out, so we start being a bit more aggressive, and attacking with a 3-3 right now is fine, even though we have put into counters for that. I don't really mind too much. If we can trade for the Catilda, that would be great, but I think and they have to block as well because they are alive, so they will use their Catilda, but they can also use Catilda to block the 1/1 that Adeline has created, so we probably will do that, yeah. And but that's no problem, we still deal 6 damage, and their task right now, we're at 0 for but their task right now is to get a lot of enchantments onto the battlefield and remove my key pieces, otherwise they will not win. So I really, they could have won here, probably. I don't know exactly what their hand is. So this opponent is really slow, so they are waiting a lot, and sometimes they also just started roping all of a sudden without any explanation. So that is something that happens. We aren't happy with it. See this? Why do people do this? Now you also have to sit through this. But yeah, they definitely haven't lost yet. So if they, for example, have another one of those borrowed times or stuff like that, where they can stop Adeline, for example, then they are pretty fine. But they very slowly play a companion, and this grows Catilda to a 4/4. So that is already dangerous to our Adeline, but we can grow her out of it still. But I believe, yeah, they have another enchantment creature. So we would need our Frontliner and the Siege Veteran here to grow out of the 5/5, but we can easily do that, and we don't mind sacrificing our Frontliner for that. But let's see what they do. This is, by the way, a great draw. Putting 2 counters on the initiate allows us to destroy an enchantment, so that is really strong against this deck. I will phase it out to be more efficient later, but yeah, arena is expensive. But I think I go through with the plan of growing Adeline, or maybe I choose not to. This is also a good idea, because if we grow the Parish a little bit, they will also get 1 training trigger, and I grow them even more with the Frontliner, showing its strength once again to quickly make a 4/5 out of a 1/2 that it was, or 2/3 that it was on its own. For example, attacking with Adeline. They do definitely get 5 life back, but they will need to block 8 damage. So we could have put a little bit on Adeline, so they had to block it. And I think that would have been fine, as long as the Parish Soldier would have gotten 3 power at least. But that is the thing that I notice in these play patterns, is that it's all about getting some more effective attackers, so that now they only have 1 profitable blocker, and the other ones have to trade, or have to, yeah, well, have to trade in this case. So they do that, they sacrifice 1 Weaver and their companion, only leaving the Catilda. And they still die because 2 of their enchantments go away, so they didn't think about that. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know. They didn't have anything other than that they could have blocked, but I would have used a Weaver of Harmony to jump maybe. But we could have just removed the Catilda anyways with the hopeful initiate after getting the 2 counts from the Parish Soldier. And we just wait until the next turn, and then they will explode. So I will spare you the visual of this taking way too long. I thank you for watching and have a nice day. Bye.